Good morning. Thank you for joining us to talk about sleep problems in midlife and menopause. I'm Dr. Victoria Sorley Aguilar, Feminine Flame MD, and I am passionate about talking about all things menopause so that women can live their most radiant and confident lives through menopause and beyond. And sleep is definitely a part of that. And I'm here with my lovely friend and colleague, Dr. Funke Afolabi-brown, a board-certified pediatric pulmonologist and sleep medicine physician. She helps busy professional women and their children prioritize sleep to achieve optimal health and thrive and live to their fullest potential. And by now, most women know that hot flashes and night sweats can interrupt our sleep in midlife. And up to 50% of women in midlife suffer from that. And poor quality of sleep is associated with tons of health problems. So, Dr. Funke, menopause is just one of the causes of sleep problem in midlife. Tell us about other causes of sleep problems and why it's so important.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me, Dr. Victoria. And I just love the work you do and how you make this sort of phase of life easier for women out there. And yes, you're right. Sleep is critical to our lives, right? Sleep is not just something we do at the end of the day. Sleep is important for us to live our fullest selves. And with hormonal changes, also that comes changes in our sleep patterns and our sleep habits and things like that. And for high achieving women, women overall, sometimes we forget to prioritize sleep. So in addition to the changes that we might experience as as women go through menopause and, as those changes come, in addition to, the hot flashes that we hear about a lot, there's also just the basic mindset issues that we have around sleep, which is really not prioritizing sleep. And I always like to start with that because call the elephant in the room, right? Like, are we making sleep a priority? And I think that's the beginning, because I see a lot of women who are exhausted all the time, wake up feeling unrefreshed. Sometimes it may be, we could say, yes, a lot of times it could be related to hormonal changes. But sometimes it's because we've not really been able to prioritize our sleep and be intentional about how we sleep. So that's one really, honestly, a huge chunk of the sleep issues, women just not prioritizing it. And that could be because of boundaries issues, because our obligations are endless. It could be because we're going through stress in our lives. It could be related to anxiety. So one reason or the other, sleep is just really not making it on that list of priorities.
So true.
And
We're
then,
more than just our hormones. We're our life, our role, our job, our personal life, all of it. You're right.
Exactly. Bad news, a sudden change, a move, the loss of a loved one. There's all that stuff. I had someone talking with me recently and she's like, I can't sleep. I used to be a really good sleeper, but she just moved 6 hours, transatlantic. And so there's that. And then there's the stress of the move. So we should not ignore that. And sometimes, really digging deep to see where those issues are coming from will solve majority of the problem. So that's one. And then, you mentioned, of course, those hormonal changes. Sometimes we'll have those hot flashes and feel very restless and uncomfortable. So that's another common reason. And then, I really also see a lot of women with insomnia. So insomnia is when you have difficulties falling asleep, staying asleep, or you're waking up at a time that's not desirable for you. And then it's really causing daytime impairment. And there are many things that feed into insomnia, right? So it may be that it may have started after some events that happened in your life and now you can't sleep. It may be that you're experiencing some anxiety and now you can't sleep. There are many things. There might be an underlying mental or medical disorder. Now you can't sleep, right? But regardless of what the cause is, here we are, we're laying in bed, our minds are racing. We're not hot. We're not having hot flashes. You know what I mean? Like, there's that piece, which is a large category as well. And then we move on to things like medical sleep problems, right? So sleep apnea, especially post-menopausal, is quite common.
Yes.
Previously, pre-menopause, men have a higher prevalence of sleep apnea compared to women. And then by the time you're after menopause, women start to catch up. So if you notice or your spouse tells you that you're snoring, or your mouth breathing, you wake up, your mouth really dry, you wake up feeling still exhausted, it might be time to get a sleep study to rule out sleep apnea, because that's a serious condition that has effective treatments available. Another one I see in women too is restless leg syndrome. We see the high prevalence in pregnant women, but also we start to see it too in perimenopausal and menopausal women. And that's that discomfort you're having in your legs. Many women experience it in pregnancy, and then sometimes it comes back again. And it's that creepy, people describe it as creepy, crawly sensations in their legs where they just feel the urge to move. So you can imagine that you're having those sensations, and as you're about to fall asleep, it keeps you awake, or then you're tossing and turning. Again, most times it's related to iron deficiency. And so really looking into that and supplementing. In some situations, you may need other medications. If it's there, addressing it is helpful.
And it's not just about feeling tired, right? It's not just like, oh, I didn't get a good night's sleep, so I'm tired the next day. It's so much more important than that, right? It has so many implications on our health.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of sleep, and you know, I always try to have people differentiate two things. There's insufficient sleep, or what we consider sleep deprivation, right? Which a lot of us women are with sleep deprived. In fact, the entire nation. In fact, the CDC announced that insufficient sleep is an epidemic in the United States. So this is how prevalent this problem is. So there's the sleep deprivation piece, and then there are sleep problems or like sleep disorders and insomnia. And so with insomnia, compared to sleep deprivation, you may have opportunities to sleep, but you're just not able to. With sleep deprivation, you may just either have something going on that's limiting your ability to get enough sleep. So either behavioral choices where we're not going to bed in time, or we're doing other things in bed,
Tasking, social media.
I'm telling you. So yes, to your question about so what? What if we don't prioritize sleep? I think again, it's realizing it's not just the exhaustion, like you mentioned, that you feel after a night of not sleeping well, and you start to see those signs if you're true to yourself after just one night of not sleeping well. I mean, you'll get through, but you start to feel that tiredness, you start to feel that fatigue. But beyond that, again, sleep is a biological necessity, and probably maybe 10 years or even less, a few years ago, they discovered that there's a system in our brains that washes off deposits on the surfaces of our brains, similar to our lymphatic systems. It's called the G lymphatic system in our brains, which kind of helps get rid of all these products that, think of it like a kitchen sink that you're decluttering and just like unclogging. And that takes place during sleep. And what they've seen is those deposits on the top of our brain are also found in people who have things like Alzheimer's and dementia. And so these are issues that we really want to tackle, right? We don't want to have that rapid progression from sleep deprivation. So whatever
we can't just have coffee and say, oh, I'll just power through it. I'll have 2 extra shots of latte in the morning. It's way more important than that.
It is way more important. And with caffeine, it's one of the most frequently used drugs. I call it a drug. It's a stimulant. It is a stimulant. It's one of the most commonly used stimulants in the United States, I would say worldwide. And what it does, enjoy it. It's okay. I think the problem is if you enjoy it for the flavor, just to kind of, and if you need to use it strategically, say you're in a season where you're not getting enough sleep, that's okay. But what I was trying to say is it essentially blocks a certain receptor in your brain. So it tricks your brain to think, oh, you're not sleepy, that you probably need to either cut back or, or just really eliminate it. If you're depending on it or if it's affecting your sleep, then we need to have a conversation. But if you're sleeping well and you just need a little coffee, I think it's fine.
I read somewhere they said coffee doesn't give you more energy. It just steals energy from the future.
It does, yeah. I mean, it's again, it's an alerting agent, and people have used it to enhance performance. So you need to give it something to work on, right? So I think it will temporarily get you over the hump.
Mm-hmm.
But my recommendation is why is there a hump?
Mm-hmm.
Deal with
Mm-hmm.
the hump, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I would recommend doing, versus relying on coffee.
So what can women do then to get some good sleep and energy, and if it's not just sleeping pill at night and coffee in the morning?
Oh my God, you just summarized it, right? We we take the sleeping pill at night, and then we're groggy in the morning, and then we take the caffeine to keep us during the day, and that's not what we're meant to do. I mean, we if we need, again, grace, right? If you have a season in your life, or if you need, just something to get you over, I think it's fine, right? Because this life we live is real. But you don't want that to become your default. So my recommendation is, first of all, figure out why you having a hard time sleeping. Why do you need sleeping pills? It's a multi-billion dollar industry, sleeping pills, between the over-the-counter medications and the prescriptions. And don't get me wrong, there are people that do need sleep medications. That's not our first line treatment for insomnia, but there are situations where, even the cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, which is the first line treatment, sometimes doesn't work, and you may need medication. But if you need medication and you're now relying on it, why? Let's go back to the reason. So I think it comes back to drilling down again. Why am I having a hard time? Is it a physical symptom? Is it pain? Is it hot flashes? Is it because I'm going through menopause? I'm dealing with that. Is it anxiety? Is it a mood problem where my mind is racing? Is it boundaries that I have issues with, why I cannot say no? And at the end of the day, I'm bringing people's drama, people's problems, I'm bringing it into bed with me, and I can't sleep.
So true.
Those things, medication will not, it will kind of dull that experience and help you sort of get some kind of sleep, but it doesn't really deal with the main issue, right?
Is it the same quality of sleep when you're under a pill than when you're naturally sleeping?
It's not. It doesn't really give you that restorative sleep. And some of those medications, depending on what they are, they actually sort of change some of your sleep architecture a little bit. So
Mm.
you don't necessarily get that benefit of as restorative sleep.
Mm.
Now, that being said, if you are someone who has anxiety and now you're on medicine for anxiety, which kind of helps you with sleep, I would want you to continue to have that treated. If you're on an antidepressant, all those things do change your sleep architecture. They do. But the goal is to make sure that we're taking care of that chemical imbalance. But yes, just like alcohol, just like all those sleep medicines, they don't, and most times people wake up, they sort of act like sedatives. They may put you to sleep, but the quality of your sleep may be off. And so trying to get as much natural sleep as possible
Mhm.
is important. If you need to use it short term, and when I say short term, maybe 2 to 4 weeks
Mhm.
for something that's going on, while you continue to seek help to try to get to the reason why you're having a hard time sleeping, I think that's okay. Because what we want is your body to produce the restful sleep that you need.
Yes, I think that's such a common, I mean, I'm a family doctor. I've been doing it for many, many, many years. And
Mm,
insomnia has got to be one of the most common complaints,
mm,
especially people after midlife complain of.
mm.
And the first thing they say is, give me a pill for sleeping.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's kind of a double-edged sword because on the one
yeah,
hand, you want them to sleep. On the other hand,
yeah.
side effects, no pill comes without a side effect
No,
or causing another problem that might need another
yeah,
pill. So
yeah,
and I think the pill is the easy fix, like coffee's the easy perk, but the
yeah.
long, the better fix is
Mm.
like what you were talking about, the cognitive behavioral.
Yeah, yeah,
And
no,
not
no, no.
everyone invests the time in that, right?
Yes, it does take effort, right? Just like every behavioral change, right? You want to lose weight. It takes effort.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
takes effort, it takes commitment. You want to exercise. It takes waking up motivated to do it. These things take effort. So it's sort of that like short-term pain for long-term gain versus just this quick fix. And then you're like, wait, I didn't need to work as hard when I took a pill. So why should I do this? So I'm not, it's hard. It's hard telling people, I know you're exhausted. I know you're drained, but you can't go to bed unless you're sleepy. Like, no, they just want to lie down. They could barely stand up, right? So it does take a lot of motivation, which is why I think, and it's so individualized, right? So it's not something, oh, I'm just going to Google it and fix it, right? It's really, which is why some of the work I do is meeting you where you are, understanding you have kids, you have to wake up super early to get them ready for school. Now we're saying don't get into bed at a certain time or do this or that or all the other, but really having a plan that works for you. And along that plan, if you're so sleep deprived, where safety is an issue, where we don't even know, where you don't even trust your own skills and your ability to make the right decisions, and we feel like you may need medication to bridge so that we can get you sleeping well and then wean you off, I think that's okay, right? So it's really meeting them where they are, helping them understand, like you do so well, the side effects. Okay, if we use this on the short term, it's okay, but on the long term, what's our goal? I think is really important. And again, addressing those things, constantly going back to, okay, what's going on? Is it the hot flashes? Is it the, all those kind of things, I think is really important.
I love the way that you reframed it, rather than it's not just the sleep you're getting tonight, it's the overall health of this precious brain we have and the detoxification of it. I mean, I think if we look at our brain and our sleep more like the way we look at our heart, it's a long term. This baby's got to last us the whole, we only have one brain, and as far as I know, I've never heard of a brain transplant. So I guess we have to take care of this for our whole lives. And a heart attack, even a heart attack, they can fix you up. But your brain and your memory and your high functioning during the day, we only get one shot at making that right for ourselves.
Wow. Yeah, no, that is so true. That is so profound. It is. And this is something we know, if you, and that's the piece too, right? Like, I know I'm getting, sleep is not just, again, I'm not just sleeping just to cure my tiredness or my sleepiness. My body is literally repairing itself.
Yes.
And you look at it that way. Wow, my body is, I would pay any amount to go to a doctor to fix, like you said, my heart, to fix my broken bone. But this is something that my own body can learn to do, to repair itself and fix an organ that I only have one of.
Yes. Brilliant.
Wow.
Brilliant body wisdom, self-detox for free. For free. It's all here and it's free, and all it needs is a little time and attention and prioritization, like you said. Brilliant. Brilliant.
I mean, there are other, like even just practical things a lot of women want to know, things because we women like to do. I think the first is the mindset, like you said, see your sleep as therapy.
Yes.
See it as therapy, right? Prioritize it, create the time, set boundaries. And then the practical things, like you talked about, like social media or the screens, all those things with the blue light, what it does is it suppresses our brain. Our brain produces melatonin. Our brains are smart. So your brain realizes that we have this internal clock called our circadian rhythm, which is regulated with the natural environment. So once it gets dark, receptors in our brains start to stimulate the production of a hormone called melatonin. And so once that comes out, it just kind of sets your body for sleep. But then when we're bathed in blue light, right, when we're on our phones and our phones are so close, and the closer the blue light is, the more suppressed that melatonin is. And so when you're bathed in blue light, then your brain is super smart, but it doesn't actually know that it's natural light versus, so
thousands of years of evolution have not caught up to the iPhone.
I know they have not yet.
It's like we want to be connected. We want to know what Dr. Funke is doing on the other side of America and what I'm doing in California, but we have to prioritize our sleep because isn't it right that if we don't sleep right, we're not even happy, we're grouchy, we're stressed, we cut people short, road rage. We're not even the best version of ourselves when we haven't had a good night's sleep.
Nope, exactly. Exactly. We owe it to ourselves. We owe it to those around us.
Yes.
We owe it to our world to be the best version of ourselves. And when we prioritize sleep, is choosing us. And I think it's time for us to choose us. Because
Absolutely.
when we choose us, then we serve better.
Yes, yes, our
Mhm,
family, our friends,
mhm,
our work.
mhm.
And
Yeah.
so win-win, self-care, sleep,
Mm,
and show up better for our loved ones. Brilliant.
yeah.
Thank you
Mhm.
so much for this. This has been so good. Can you tell the people, Dr. Funke, how if someone's out there struggling with sleep and really wants to invest time and energy into improving the quality of their sleep, how could they work with you?
Yeah, so I have, and thank you for having me. This has been fun.
Yay!
So I would say the best place to find me is my website. That's RestfulSleepMD.com. And I do have a coaching program where I offer one-on-one coaching for women and their children. And so we really dig deep. Like I said, there's such a myriad number of reasons why women don't sleep. And so we go down, get to the nitty-gritty of why you're not sleeping, and then move you from point A, which is just drained, exhausted, tired, groggy, cranky, to wow, this is what good sleep looks like. And so we take you through that. It's about a 7 to 8 week program. And so get on there, reach out to me, let's talk. And then I'm also on Instagram at RestfulSleepMD. So those are the main places to find me.
Beautiful. I love your Instagram channel. I love your short videos. They're so informational that you put up. I love those. Restful Sleep MD. Thank you so much, Dr. Funke, for this time. I wish we could talk forever.
I know, right? There's so
Thank
much to
you.
talk about. Thank you again for having me, and thank you for the work you do.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day. And thank you for joining us. And you can tune in to Dr. Funke's Instagram or website, Restful Sleep MD, for more information. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Take care.